We haven't met in a while. Daniel Martin.
Hey, good to see you.
Councilman Estes. I'd like to call to order the City of Douglasville City Council regular meeting for tonight, which is November the 18th, 2021. We'll have our invocation that will be done by Mr. Lloyd Fields, Outreach Coordinator of the Share House. Good to see you, sir. After that, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by the Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Terry Miller. Please stand for the invocation.
Dear Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to honor you by all of us rendering you service to your people in this community, the city of Douglasville, and the surrounding areas. We ask, Lord, for your divine grace, mercy, and favor as we come together to do your civic duties in a way that glorifies you. We pray for our mayor and those who serve with her and under her, our councilmen and women, and other government employees. Please endow them with your divine wisdom, guidance, vision, perseverance, and compassion as they address the various needs of this community. And lastly, Lord, we see this month as Breast Cancer Month and Domestic Violence Month. And with that, Lord, we ask that you protect, give grace, give provision to those who are impacted by both domestic violence and breast cancer. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem, for leading us in the pledge, and Outreach Coordinator, Mr. Fields, for the invocation. We appreciate that, and we will continue to remember that this is the time to recognize breast cancer awareness as well as domestic violence. We do have announcements and presentations. I'll go over how the protocol of the meeting will be held, and then we will adhere to the agenda. And there's one printed outside if you'd like to have a paper one, and/or we do have the agenda that's on the screen above us. I'd like to welcome you to the City of Douglasville's City Council regular voting meeting. This is a City Council regular meeting of agenda items where official action will be taken this evening on the items that were discussed last Thursday at the legislative work session. If the business you're here for is not listed as an agenda item, there will be ample time under the agenda item comments from citizens and delegates for you to discuss your business, anything that is germane to the City of Douglasville. There are just a few protocol issues I'd like to address this evening, and then we can start with the meeting. I'd ask that you would please keep your comments and presentations on a professional level dealing with the facts that are important for this governing body to make our decisions. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair to be of a personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. You will receive a warning from the chair if you deviate from this requirement, and a second deviation will discontinue you having the opportunity to speak this evening. We'll turn the microphone off. Only one person speaking at a time. Please do not applaud or react to speakers. Speak from the audience, cheer, or carry on a conversation that will be disruptive to the order of the meeting. I'll remind you that we are only required to accept public comments on zoning matters, and we accept public comments on items that we feel will enable the meeting to go in the way that it should. If you have a cell phone or any electronic device, we ask that you would please put those in silent mode or turn those off so it will not be disruptive during the meeting. Now, this is how the meeting will go. The agenda item will be handled as the following. The committee chairperson will read their agenda item. Then that person representing the agenda item or applicant will make his or her presentation. Then myself and council members will possibly ask clarifying questions to help us make our decision before we vote this evening. We'll ask, the committee chairperson will ask for comments or statements from the audience. There's 20 minutes for those in favor and 20 minutes for those in opposition. I understand it did go longer. I looked at the tape for one of our zoning matters last week, but we're still obligated to adhere to 5 minutes per person, and we are only accepting if you have new material this evening that you'd like to present. So if you did go over the concern or something that you were for or against last week, we ask that you will not come and repeat the same information, just new information. Each person has one opportunity to speak. This is not a question and answer format or a debate. We're just here to hear the information, deliberate, and make our decisions. If the information is repetitive, we ask again that you won't repeat that. And if you have anything that is printed that you'd like to distribute to us, we ask that you would please give that printed material to the city clerk, Ms. Vicki Acker, to my right. She will make copies and distribute to the council members. I believe that's it for all of our protocol. When you come to the podium, please give us your name and address for the record, and we'd be happy to hear from you. Now, we do have two presentations this evening before we get into the meat of the council meeting. We have myself, I'm going to present a proclamation to AD West Dance Company in honor of their 26th anniversary. We were trying to do 25, but we had COVID, so now it's an even year. 26th anniversary of teaching the art of dance and ballet, tap, jazz, lyrical, point, modern, contemporary, hip-hop, and clogging for ages 2 through 12. They have received so many awards, but I'm going to read this proclamation, and I'll ask that our director would come forward, and whomever you would have to speak or that you want to take a photo with you have the opportunity to speak. So I'll read the proclamation, and then you all can come forward to receive the proclamation. Office of the Mayor, celebrating the 26th anniversary of the AD West Dance Company. Whereas AD West Dance Company was the first Black-owned dance studio in Douglas County, being established in 1995 with the founder, Angie West. And whereas Angie West has been a resident of Douglas County since 1979, graduating from Alexander High School in 1988 and Savannah State University, the Tigers, in 1992. My baby's there now. Whereas AD West Dance Company celebrates 26 years of business through the art of dance and ballet, tap, jazz, lyrical, point, modern, contemporary hip-hop and clogging for ages 2 through 12th grades. And whereas former students have been accepted in prestigious summer intensive training programs such as Alvin Ailey American Dance in New York, Debbie Allen Dance Academy in Los Angeles and Atlanta, Jeffrey Ballet School in New York and Athens, and Dance Theater of Harlem in New York, and the Governor's Honors Programs in Georgia. And whereas the 80 West Dance Company has done more than teaching dance by contributing to the community through sponsoring back to school, supplies drives, donating trophies to the Special Olympics, serving as at the Douglasville Food Pantry, providing scholarships in memory of the late Ken Smith to give dancers the opportunity for 1 free month of tuition, and performing for several churches and community organizations in Douglas County and the Atlanta metro areas, including the Atlanta Hawks. And whereas the studio's motto is not just a dance class, but an experience to cherish, which has been evident in the relationships that have been fostered and sustained among dancers, parents, and the staff well beyond the enrolled dancers' graduation date. Now, therefore, I, Rochelle Robinson, Mayor of the City of Douglasville, do hereby proclaim and recognize the AD West Dance Company for their achievements and their 26th anniversary, and further extend appreciation to them for their impact on the citizens of Douglasville, Douglas County. So proclaim this 18th day of October, 2021. Let's give Miss Angie West a hand. You want to come forward, Soror, and say something? You bringing your team with you? All right, so you have on black. It look like you're going to perform or something. There's something going on already. I know. It's good to see you. If you can please give us your name and address for the record. And I know we used to be neighbors when we first moved here, right across the street from each other.
You want my studio address or?
Pardon me?
My personal address or the studio address?
The address for the dance company. You can give the city address.
My name is Angie West, and we are at 5963 Stewart Parkway in Douglasville, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And we are very glad to be here. This is my husband, the other half, the one that really, his name is Gerald West. His birthday is today.
Oh, happy birthday!
I have my daughter here, Chandler West.
Wow.
She just graduated from KSU, magna cum laude.
Hooty hoo!
I have one of my Parent Booster Club representatives here, Miss Tamara Garwood. I'm sorry, I haven't seen her moment. She's a part of our Parent Booster Club. I have Miss Rashawn Sims. I don't know what's wrong with me. She graduated out of my program. She started at 5, and she still continues to teach.
Wow.
How many years for Sean? 1 million?
1995 to whatever it is.
Yeah. Yes.
That's exciting.
And then I have Tanya McClure. She's our competition team director that is here today to accept the award. And we are very appreciative. We're very grateful. I don't know, we're completely overwhelmed to get this honor today because we know that you didn't have to, but we appreciate that you did.
Well, thank you so much for giving students in the community something to do and to build their self-esteem and their dexterity, of course, and help throughout life. And so it really, when our young people have something to do to help them stay out of trouble as well, but giving them self-confidence and self-esteem and a skill is just priceless. So thank you for all of your blood, sweat, and tears and your success over the past 26 years. We're excited every time we go somewhere and see 80 West is on the program. We know we're going to be blessed. And we're really proud of you and all of your achievements that you've done with your dancers as they've gone out beyond the walls of Douglasville, Douglas County. So I know Councilmember Dr. Burdanley, if you'd like to say anything, I know you know, Ms. West.
I am so happy and delighted, Mr. and Mrs. West and your team. Both of my daughters danced with Miss Angie. I cannot dance a lick. Of course, my children think I can't, but my husband's sitting back there. I think he said I could dance.
Oh,
but congratulations, and many, 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 many more. Great.
Well, thank you so much. So we'll come around if any council members want to say anything. If not, then let's give them a hand as we come around and take a photo.
ready? Go. All right. Thank you.
We have one more, Mr. Chris. Okay, you'll be ready. So we have another proclamation, and it is for the recognition of Share House's work in honor of Domestic Violence Month. Office of the Mayor, the proclamation reads, whereas Share House's responsibility is to prevent and to respond to domestic violence in our homes, neighborhoods, and communities. And whereas Share House recognizes the impact that domestic violence has on the victim and has selected Behind the Scars are stories of courage and freedom at their home for 2021. Whereas domestic violence in America results in abuse in our homes, which threatens our individual, community, and national sense of safety and security. And whereas each woman, child, and man in America has the right to live free from violence in his or her home, neighborhood, and community. And whereas important partnerships have been formed in Douglasville among public safety, juvenile justice agencies, professionals, victim services, and the private sector to ensure that clients are treated with dignity and respect, which they deserve. And whereas law enforcement, prosecutors, judges, correctional professionals, victim service providers, and the community play a critical role in enhancing the safety of domestic violence victims and those around them. Important partnerships with these agencies have been formed within the Douglasville community. And whereas among the key components of domestic violence prevention and awareness in Douglasville and Douglas County is the Share House, which provides community services to victims of domestic violence to enhance victim safety and security. Whereas Share House sponsors various services which assist victims of domestic violence, including 24 hours crisis services, emergency shelter, legal services, support services, and temporary protective orders. And they seek to reduce future domestic violence through greater public awareness. Now, therefore, I, Rochelle Robinson, and the Mayor of the City of Douglasville, and on behalf of the Douglasville City Council and citizens of the city, do hereby commend Share House for its services in advocating a domestic violence-free community, and do hereby declare October 2021 to be Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the City of Douglasville. So proclaim this 18th day of October 2021. You want to come forward, Mr. Shields and Mr. Fields? You want to say anything? You want to say anything?
Thank you so very much.
In the microphone. You got to say in the microphone. You have to give your name and address. I know you did the invocation. You just come. People want to hear what you have to say.
Well,
Okay.
I
Yes, sir.
appreciate everyone. You know, this is community. We're family.
Yes,
and,
sir.
And we need the support, and we have to support each other. So we thank you from Share House. I believe my board chair would agree with me that you know, this is something very special. Oh, by the way, my name is Dr. Lloyd Fields, 6236 Millstone Trail, Douglasville, Georgia.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's give him a hand, and we'll come around and take a photo.
Thank you.
Thank you, council members, for indulging me. We've gotten our calisthenics in for the evening. And now we will adhere to the agenda as it is posted above us or outside if you'd like a paper copy. And we'll go down to the minutes. I'll open the floor for a motion to approve the minutes of the legislative work session of September 30th, 2021, and the regular meeting of October 4th, 2021. Open the floor for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Davis. I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. We have a motion and second to approve the minutes as presented. Do we have any corrections or any concerns as it relates to the minutes by the elected officials? I don't see any. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The minutes are approved unanimously. We'll go on to the consent agenda. I'll open the floor for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thank you so much, Councilman Estes. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. It's been properly moved and second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Do we have any questions or comments from council members? I don't see any. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We'll move on then to item number 7, which is Economic Development Committee, and that's chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business at this time under the Economic Development Committee.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I'll move on then to Finance Committee, and I'll ask the Mayor Pro Tem to take that committee as well.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There is no business at this time under the Finance Committee.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on then to Housing and Community Affairs Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Danley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight under housing.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Item number 10 is Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Yes, ma'am. No business tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Councilman Davis. Personnel and Organization Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
We have no business tonight, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Councilman Watts. We'll move on then to item number 12, which is Planning and Development Committee. That's chaired by Vice Chair, Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Danley.
Yeah, thank you, Madam
Good
Mayor.
evening, Mr. Ryan.
We have several items tonight, and I will go ahead and let our staff, Mr. Ryan Anderson, begin.
Ryan Anderson, Zoning Administrator, 6701 Church Street. Hold a public hearing and consider request for a change in zoning from R2 Single Family Residential District to PUD, Planned Unit Development District, for 83.3 acres at northeast intersection of Presley Mill Road and Timber Ridge Drive in land lot 54, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 2. Application by the Revived Land Group, care of Neville Allison, Managing Partner. Staff doesn't have any new information to present at this time, but the applicant is here.
Okay, thank you. So will the applicant please come forward? Hello, good to see you again. I hope that your weekend was great. So I'd like to, if you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
Kenneth Wood, 350 Research Court, Peachtree Corners, Georgia,
Okay.
30092. And so for new information, I was told I could. We answered, I know, so much stuff, and last time, the only one item we were not able to thoroughly answer because we did not have the builder here. Lennar, Georgia is our builder, so this document that you're getting passed around, we had the VP of Lennar come up with it. And essentially what he was just describing, he went through a lot of different market, we emailed everybody about this, was he was just talking about the lot size and how all their communities, you know, the smaller lots, where you have less maintenance. Everybody's really looking for nice homes, nice inside, less yard, less maintenance, lock and go concepts. And so we try to distribute them, really well throughout the project, but this letter just kind of describes how the American Dream series, what they're proposing for the site, is one of their best sellers across the United States, not just here in Georgia. And that, the 30-foot product, what they're doing on the smaller lots that we have is actually outselling everything else. It just is the trend of what they're seeing. So they've felt very confident, and they actually really love this site, so we just want to make sure you guys had this as part of that information that was asked about. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hampton, do we have that attachment? Yes, okay. So let me just give our mayor and council a moment to pull that up. As the mayor stated earlier, this is our voting meeting, so I am going to go ahead and open the floor for our public hearing. If there are any residents who are here that have different information from what was stated on Thursday, if you are in favor of this development, you may come forward at this time. Okay. If we have any residents that are in opposition of this development and you have different information, if you would like to come forward, you may do so at this time.
Good evening. My name is Scott Daniel. I live at 5825 Wembley Drive, Douglasville, Georgia. I would like to thank the mayor and city council members for the time you have taken out of your schedules to hear information pertaining to this development. It is not my intention to prolong this process any longer. However, I am a law-abiding citizen and I am a firm believer that the letter of the law should be followed in all matters, including city codes. We depend on the city council and staff to manage growth and development. It is important to ensure things are done correctly. Issues were brought to my attention by a group of concerned and experienced members with pertinent backgrounds. While the developers will tell you that they have met all of the required conditions for a PUD per the UDO of the city, this is not necessarily true. According to the City of Douglasville's Unified Development Ordinances, Section 4.03 of Commercial and Mixed-Use Districts, which addresses planned unit developments. In item F, PUD perimeter compatibility, it states, land uses developed at the perimeter of the site shall be developed in a manner that is compatible with adjacent off-site land uses or zoning, or a 100-foot wide buffer shall be provided between the uses in the PUD and the perimeter of the site. This project is not compliant with this code section. The adjacent church property to the east is zoned R4. Presley Park to the south is zoned R2. GDOT property, also on the south side, is zoned PSP, that's public semi-public. And Benton House Assisted Living Home to the southwest is zoned R2. All are different land uses, and a 100-foot zoning buffer should be applied to those perimeters. It is not. In addition, the 25-foot landscape buffer along the eastern property line cannot coincide with the existing 20-foot sanitary sewer easement. The heavy landscape buffer will need to be pushed into or alongside the 100-foot buffer if allowed. In my 10 years of experience as a member of the Douglas County Developmental Services Review Team, the Water and Sewer Authority will not allow landscape plant material to be planted on top of their sanitary sewer easement. I confirmed that again this afternoon per a phone call to WSA. Item E of our same code, which addresses open space required common area standards, states that the common and open space areas and facilities shall be held in common by a legally constituted association of property owners with the financial capability to maintain the open space and shall be on a recorded plat as permanent common area open space. On several occasions, the developers team has stated that the open space on the northwest corner of Timber Ridge would remain undeveloped and maintained. On the initial plan proposal for 2021, this area was included as planned development containing 16 42-foot lots. If the intent is not to develop that portion of the property, The proposed conditions must include that it will remain undeveloped, be maintained by the HOA, and should also be included on the final plat if this project goes forward. The plan illustrated on page 9, indicates that the gross density of this project is 2.86 units per acre. However, per the city's UDO, net density is the total acreage of property excluding land within private road right-of-ways and public easements, floodplain and wetland areas, and areas permanently inundated by water. Therefore, the 238 units divided by 72.1 acres equals 3.3 units per acre and should be corrected on the plan and not show as the gross density of 2.86. I oppose this proposal specifically for all of the reasons I have previously stated in emails, presentations, and for the reasons stated today. If nothing else, critical facts should be recorded accurately. A vote to table this application will simply confirm the fact that this is not a development that is ready or appropriate for City of Douglasville approval due to glaring issues that have not been resolved. I respectfully request that our City Council vote no against this proposed rezoning application. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, very much. Perfect timing, like to the T. All right. So I would like to ask the developer, would you like, please come up and make some comments, and then afterwards I'd like for Mr. Dotson to make some comments as well.
Well, before that,
I'm
Madam
sorry.
Chair, do you mind?
Is there someone else? Yes, ma'am. Something, you have information that's different than what you, yes, ma'am, please come forward. I'm sorry.
And as she comes, Madam Chair, we did receive Mr. Daniel's letter, and the legal responded that is, of course, it's a difference of opinion, and that those concerns were not relevant to the proposal. Okay. But we'll say that later. Yes, ma'am.
Just one moment. All right, thank you for your patience. If you will please state your name and your address for the record.
Absolutely. My name is Lisa Reeves, and I live at 9322 Savoy Court. Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. I appreciate your time and continued attention to this important matter. It is my understanding that one of the purposes of these meetings is to confirm that potential developments conform to existing standards in the areas they are being proposed in. This development plans to contain 238 single-family unit homes, occupying roughly 56 of the 83.3 acres. 156 of the 238 homes are on lots that are 4,200 square feet, or on 1/10 of an acre. That is 66% of the proposed development. This subdivision, as it currently is being proposed, does not conform to the existing subdivisions along Presley Mill Road. You can easily see within Kensington, Presley Place, Presley Park, Slater Mill Circle, Charlton Place, Slater Mill Plantation, and more, some examples of subdivisions with larger lots and homes built with a variety of sizes and styles in the immediate vicinity of this proposal. Therefore, it follows that the style and quality of the proposed housing is inconsistent with the character and nature of the majority of the surrounding community. Approving this proposal will set the precedent for future developments to contain a large number of smaller lots with lower standards than what is currently found in this part of the city of Douglasville. I was able to read the letter by Mr. Jeff Anthony, the Vice President of Lennar Homes, and I do completely agree that there is a market for smaller homes and lots for first-time home buyers and those desiring a low-maintenance property. But I cannot imagine that there would be a market for 156 of these lots within the confines of this one subdivision within this part of Douglasville. I was contacted by a couple of concerned citizens through Nextdoor regarding the existence of 2 endangered plants, pink lady slipper orchids and creeping cedar, that are indigenous to the property in question. On October 12th, Mr. Bergstrom brought this issue to the Planning and Zoning Commission. I was also provided with assessors' reports from the 2019 and 2021 Douglas County Board of Assessors review of the property in question that clearly addresses that this property is home to these two protected species of plants. Such species are subject to the rules and regulations of the Department of Natural Resources. Mr. Bergstrom previously stated that these endangered species would need to be transplanted, and watched closely for a number of years to ensure that they thrive prior to developing on the existing habitat. Verbiage regarding the potential disturbance of endangered plants should also be included in the proposed conditions and on the final plat. I do appreciate the additional conditions that have been made resulting from the public meeting on October 5th. These changes are definitely a step in the right direction. All I can ask at this time is that you vote no to this proposal. However, if this proposal is approved, please make it a requirement of the approval to include wording within their conditions regarding the disturbance of endangered plants now that they've been brought to the developer's attention and to reduce the density further. Again, thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you so much. All right, can we have the developer come up, please? Yes, make some comments.
So just responding to the items, we went through a lot of staff review and have staff approval. We went through, our plan actually lists the gross density. It also lists the net density when we netted out the floodplain area and the areas that we're supposed to. In terms of the capabilities, we went all the way through that. When you look through that ordinance, it's when you're up against commercial and you're up against different things, there are certain buffers. But the way we have the plan and the surroundings is, we and staff, both found that the plan we have is compliant with that. The other thing that was brought up about the 20-foot sanitary sewer easement, we have additional plantings beyond that. We cannot plant within the easement, and so if you're in a permitting scenario and you have additional plantings you have to plant outside of that, they would have to just get planted, outside of that area and shifted. But we've taken all that into consideration, and it actually reflects it on our plan. The other thing about the maintained, and so our conditions talk about the whole property is to be maintained by the HOA. And so part of what we wanted to do was to take the smaller lots and actually disturb less land. This is probably the most undisturbed amount of land I've seen on a plan in a long time, and in so many different areas. It just has a lot of undisturbed area. And so all of that area would be maintained by the HOA. I know there was a question about making sure that that area across the creek and everything would be maintained by the HOA. It is maintained by the HOA, and our conditions talk about that. But if we needed to have further wording, the further enhance that, we're totally open to it, because it would be maintained by the HOA. It would just be undisturbed land, and that's what we want it to be. And we feel like that's what everybody wants, but there's a struggle with that it's being shrunk down into a smaller area. As far as the sizes and styles, we're purposely using the PUD so that we can consolidate it. We do, like the letter from Lennar, we do want to make it more like the tributaries in a lot of the different areas, so that you have closer lots, community, and then you also be able to have less maintenance. And that's the reason we're able to leave so much undisturbed area on the property, and that's really what we are trying to do. The other thing came up, I talked to the gentleman after the hearing, it was after the Planning Commission hearing, about the plants. Whether the plants are endangered or just unusual, I find different wording about them, but we don't have a problem. He said they're located in kind of the frontage part up near Presley Mill and a couple by the creeks, and what we talked about was we don't have a problem figuring out how to transplant them to another part of the property so that they can grow, and he said that's totally fine. He just said he knew about plants and that can be done. He just said you need to be able to identify them, and that was something that we would be able to do. And so I believe that was the only other items I heard. Common and open space will be, as part of the HOA, they will be platted that way. We're compliant with everything else, and with what staff came up with, I believe, was everything. Did I miss anything?
I don't think that you did.
Okay.
However, okay, thank you. It is my understanding that we do have another resident or someone else who has signed up to speak, and I apologize if I overlooked you. If you would please come up now, if we have someone else who would like to speak in opposition. Thank you. If you would please state your name and your address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Murphy. I reside at 4275 Wyndham Court here in Douglasville, Georgia, 30135. I've been a citizen here in Douglas County in Douglasville since November 19th of 1997. Growth is inevitable. And in fact, growth is healthy for a community, but we need to be smart about it. I've lived in other places around this great country and watched growth go out of hand. And the unfortunate part is that the local governments and the city and the residents and citizens are the ones that end up suffering in the long run. One of the things that stuck out to me when I read the applicant information was about services, that they're not going to impact the services of the city or the county by putting this in. The thing that stuck out to me, and I would really love to hear what the police chief has to say about this, and the fire chief, but it said, oh, we're going to have an HOA that's going to help look out for this community. Well, guess what? That's not their job, to provide fire and police services, safety services. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do look out. I live in a subdivision that has an HOA. We look out for each other, but it's a voluntary thing. And we communicate with our police services and our county services, but at the same time, if there's a fire, we're not out there with our garden hoses trying to put it out. The issue then becomes, how do you make this work? I don't live in that area, but I did drive through there over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and just look at the homes that are there, and I thought, if you stick this in there, to me, it reminds me of what my grandmother used to say. There's a fly in the oatmeal, and it's not a raisin, because it doesn't look like everything else. So I'm asking mayor and city council members to vote no. Not that we should develop this property, but I think it should be a better plan. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have I overlooked anyone else? Okay, if not, I will close the public hearing at this time, but I will start with our mayor, and then we will begin with Councilman Watts with comments from our mayor and council. Mayor Robinson?
Thank you so much, Ms. Vice Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I really appreciate all the citizens and the developer and everyone working together in this instance for this development. I did read over, I had a previous engagement last Thursday, but I listened to the meeting and read over, I think there's 16, Mr. Reiner, there's 16 conditions? 17 conditions. And so I appreciate the developer working with the community with those 17 conditions, as well as having public meetings and the community coming out and talking with the developer to establish these conditions. Madam Vice Chair, I did look at a development on the Paulding-Douglas County line, Cobb line, where this developer has the same type of homes, and they're starting at 400. I have the video, and they're doing really well. They're selling well, and I know that this plot of land is zoned residential. And last week when we had our meetings in every ward, we went to Tributary, and the homes in Tributary are in this same distance of ratio of proximity to each other, and they're selling very well. Councilman Estes, I don't know, but I don't want us to get zoning and development confused or intertwined, because this application is for zoning. It's not for all the specifics in development. So I think that's a little bit unfair, because we're meshing those things together when WSA is going to hold the developer to a standard, as well as the development codes and UDL that they've already gone through the process of. So our mandate today, this evening, is about zoning, not development. So those are the only comments I had. Of course, we want to respect the community and where everyone lives, but everyone has a right to have their property developed if they want so, and it's zoned that. So that's all I had to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilman Watts?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Mayor, one of the last things you said, what's before us tonight is whether or not we're going to allow the rezoning to PUD. How the houses, the quality and things like that, the type of homes, that comes later, right? If it were to be approved. I'm kind of all over the map here. I may ask a couple things and may have to come back to me later. But when I was looking at the conditions of zoning, and I know this, I don't know if this is a misprint. Number one talks about potentially in the final design, and I know that's the next step down the road if this were approved. But it said it would be approved by the consent of the district commissioner, and I'm assuming that should say mayor and council.
That's what it says. I don't know how you got a copy with that. That must be
what I got.
old. That's probably old, Councilman.
Okay.
Councilmember Watts. The new condition says City Council,
Okay.
and
All right, thank you.
we have
Well,
that in the package, City Council.
This is the one I got Thursday night, so. And somebody addressed that in one of the emails to me. And, Mr. Anderson, you might want to just stay right there. What would be an example of minor modifications?
For instance, if they got to the development plan process, and the development plan process goes through City Council, the City Council would have to approve the development plan process. But after the development plan is approved by City Council, and if they have to come back with any changes or modification, they will have to come before City Council again.
What is that? Okay. Well, I was just going by what I was handed, so. Okay. And I would just like to ask y'all, how many, looking ahead, the type of homes y'all, a lot of the concern that I was receiving in emails, people that were concerned or against this proposal, the 238 homes, a lot of folks in that area, because that area has been developed over the years with larger homes or homes in the same potential square footage as what y'all are proposing, but on bigger lots. Y'all are going with smaller lots because of less maintenance. And, I live in a house with a big lot, and I like that, but I know that the market today is changing. I was in Gateway Village earlier. A lot of the homes in there, they look very nice. I wasn't able to go inside, but there's a lot of homes in there, over 200 in that subdivision. Of course, a lot of the folks that have spoken against this are talking about what is in that corridor there, that Presley Mill corridor, all those subdivisions that stretch through there. So I understand some of the concerns about the 238. Some people that have told me that they're in favor of this. They're in favor of it because the last proposal was closer to 400. And a lot of folks are looking at it that down the road, if this development goes away or is not approved, that somebody else is going to come along and maybe want to do something else. That there's a lot of things that could go on that property. All of it's going to add to traffic. I've heard a lot about traffic. Folks, I bought in Saddlebrook in 1988, and running from my house to the hospital and back one car might pass me back then. Now, all the subdivisions that are along there were built after my subdivision was built out. It's just changed. That whole area has changed. But I still definitely understand how folks are concerned about the number. The quality that, if they were approved, they have to come back to us with the type of homes. You know, we've been doing a lot of discussing about garage doors and facades and things like that. But the finality of that will come later if this were approved. This is all about PUD, and the PUD just allows, and I'm saying this out loud so I can hear it. The PUD is allowing them to build 1,800 to 3,000 square foot homes, bigger homes, but some of those square footages are bigger than my house, on smaller lots. So that's what we're here about. And okay. Somebody else go ahead and talk. I'll look at my notes and.
I know it's a lot.
Okay, so I'm not going to go down like roll call, so council members, just jump in as you would like.
Madam Chair, I do have a question. Madam Mayor had mentioned that legal had a response to Mr. Daniels' points, and I don't see that loaded. Is that something that was loaded on here, or is that?
No, it wasn't loaded. The city manager can respond.
Okay.
No, I did ask legal to review that email. You all have it as part of your packet. I'm pretty certain either Mr. Dotson or Ms. Woodward would be prepared to respond.
Well, as the mayor mentioned, it's a zoning hearing. When you add special conditions on the zoning, generally speaking, you can increase the burden on the person seeking the rezoning. You don't necessarily have the authority to reduce other requirements of your code. Perhaps some of the confusion, the term site plan is probably the wrong phrase to use. What was filed, I think, on July the 19th, and I think they passed out another one Thursday night, that's really a concept plan, isn't it? It's not a preliminary. It's essentially a preliminary sketch that every developer comes in and brings and says, this is what I want to build.
Yes, sir, it's a concept. It's still considered a concept.
The reality of it is that doesn't have a heck of a lot to do until you get to the development phase, when he has to file a comprehensive development plan. And that's exactly where you discuss setbacks, square footages, lot sizes, to some degree exterior conditions. Now, these conditions are okay if the developer's going to agree to them, but I wouldn't, and you guys know this already, the fact that you showed a concept plan does not mean that that's the approval of your development plan. All that has to come back. Now, someone mentioned endangered species. The EPA has nothing to do with zoning. It has to do with what you can develop on property if there's an endangered species. If somebody thinks there's an endangered species on the property, there's a rather detailed roadmap you have to file. You can file it with the state EPD. They'll make a determination as to whether or not something is in fact endangered and whether or not it deserves any protection or remediation. It's not a zoning issue.
Thank you.
Answer you, Mayor Pro Tem?
I wanted to hear what our
Yes.
legal response was to that. Okay.
So I have a question to our legal. If the endangered species is not a zoning issue, when would the EPA get involved? At this point, or?
To begin with, somebody has to make a complaint. You have to file a
With
complaint.
the-
They don't work on the fact that somebody drove by and
Right.
saw a plant and said, oh, that's endangered. They have a list of stuff that's endangered over there. And they have a pretty good idea where it exists too, in most areas. So that's how it starts. It's
So
not up to the city council to
Right.
determine whether anything's endangered or not.
So the complaint by anyone could be filed at any given time, is that correct?
Yes,
All right.
if there's an endangered species out there, be it plant or animal, there's a procedure
Correct.
under state and federal law
Yes, sir.
to deal with that.
Thank you.
But the developer said that they would be willing to remove it and plant it somewhere else.
Once there is a complaint that's filed with the EPA. All right, thank you. Mr. Dotson, always so thorough, thank you. Did that answer your question, Mayor Pro Tem? Do you have any other comments?
That's all I have for now, thanks.
All right. Anyone else, Mayor, Council? Or Council members? Our mayor has already spoken.
If I could?
Yes,
Thank you
ma'am.
so much.
Councilmember Miller.
Once again, I would like to thank you guys so much for taking the time to host another community meeting and listening to the voices of the residents and their concerns and working on that with everyone. Because I think at the end of the day, I hope that our residents understand that at some point, something is going to happen with this piece of land, and rather that be y'all's development or another development. And the steps that you guys have taken to listen to everyone is very encouraging. Although when I go through my emails, it's very overwhelming, the number of emails that I've gotten of people's concerns. And some of the concerns I think may have already been addressed and put at ease, but one of the number one concerns, of course, is the number of houses in that amount of land and the traffic that that's going to cause. And I don't think that people are expecting another Saddlebrook or another Charleston crossing. I don't think that they are. And as we've all discussed, the residents and the new home buyers are different. When Saddlebrook was built back in the mid-'80s, I think he started developing it even before that, but the American dream looked different than it does now, and people are looking for something different. But I think that a large concern that people have is the amount of homes in that amount of area. So I am curious if you guys would be willing to look at the number of home sites that are in your development. And if you guys would be willing to do that, then I'm curious to how the residents would feel if that would put anyone at ease.
Are you asking them to reduce their?
I'm asking if that would be an option. And even not like if it could be done in phases also.
I do think the phases is the approach. It's going to take 6 years for a build out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a line slide. I think they said 2027 was the estimate.
Yeah, so part of what I heard, I'm sorry, I'm jumping in. Thank you so much, Madam Vice Chair. But Councilmember Miller, I think when I listened to the report on last Thursday, that you brought up something about services for the sanitation and maybe fire and police. I can't remember who I was trying to write down, but it's going to take 6 to 7 years or whatever for build out. And so as that progression happens, we will hire more police officers and more sanitation, maintenance and sanitation. And of course, my son's in the fire academy right now, so more firefighters. There's a class of 25. But so it's going to be a phased approach before the development is completely done. And from my understanding, the 200 would not be a burden on our sanitation department now. Is that correct, City Manager? Or did I miss?
Yes, ma'am. When you were asked me that question this afternoon, I did speak with Mr. Roberts, and those are things that because a development such as this is phased in, we have time to make the adjustment regardless of the number. They're not building them all at once. Our concerns are more or less, not to pick on Councilman Estes, but when there's a ton of development in one major area. Mm-hmm. So that is a greater impact, more so because of a route and the magnitude of what's happening. This is just one development in one particular area. So, and then when you look at the time it would take, there are going to be increased services. There are no question about that, but that's your burden as elected officials to balance growth with being able to provide those services, hence the reason why you charge property taxes.
I didn't mean to interrupt, Councilmember Miller.
No, that's quite all right.
Thank you.
So just to answer and try to be like as transparent about like just as a discussion point. So like let's just say if we just took, you know, Barry was doing the calculations. Like let's just say if we took reduced down by 10 homes, okay, 238 to 228. And then that cuts down the number of 42s to 50s by, it's a large number. It was like down to all the way to 85 of 42s because we already have built in the plan. We were trying to just show the outline and say all these in the middle are 42s, but a lot of them are already over 50 in the widths. And, you know, every time we've been at the red light, we went there 8 times, 9 times counting today around 5 o'clock. And I know people live here and they have different experiences, but there was never anybody at that intersection of Presley Mill and Timber Ridge. I mean, it's just like, we were like, so every time at 5 o'clock, every time. And I'm sure it's different in the morning, and there's always a story there, you know, about when the traffic's worse or not. But I'm just trying to think to myself, like, you know, we made sure we have a minimum of the large lots, but it just feels like we should let, you know, Lennar as a builder, like, go in, because if the larger lots are selling better, they'll just reduce the number of lots and sell more of those. But they can't increase the number of 42s because we're in our conditions, we're already maxing, you know, we're already putting a minimum on the other ones. And so, you know, if we reduced it by 10 and that added a bunch more of the mid-size lots and reduced the other ones that some people were worried about, I just don't know. Just honestly, like, does 10 units, does it really make a difference, or is it just taking away more money from the HOA because it's a lot of amenities and a lot of money to keep up? So, I mean, I guess that would be my response, is we're willing to work. We want to see this project go forward. Lennar has it as like one of their top projects. They've already had it corporately approved in their corporate headquarters out of Miami. And so they want to see it approved. You know, we can definitely do something like that if it really makes a difference. But we think what we've submitted is a great project, and we tried to condition ourselves. And we've even gone through, full disclosure, we've gone through all the engineering. We know the plan we have is going to be the plan I bring back to you for site plan approval, because we've already engineered it. We've graded it. We know exactly what we got. And so we feel like the plan we have is a really good plan, but we're open. You know, we want to see it. We want to see it approved. We think it's a great plan for the city.
So then, if approved, you would be open to sitting down with the residents, possibly yet again, to go over numbers of how many home sites? And I'm not saying anyone to come in and say, you can only do 100, but I'm saying to somehow get it to a number that the residents are a little bit more comfortable with.
I mean, that's a really hard one. I mean,
Barry Etheridge, the Revive Land Group, 3500 Lynch Road. The problem becomes we have 238 units. We have a full-size clubhouse, a resort-style pool, multiple sport courts, and tennis courts, and gazebos, and a lot of amenities on the site. And it takes, you know, homes to provide the HOA dues to be able to support those amenities. You start reducing the number of units, then you start increasing the HOA fees, and it gets to become a burden at that point for the homeowners.
I understand, and thank you for your answer then.
Okay, thank you.
So like I was just saying about the 228, it takes the 42 footers down to 85 of them, which is cutting it in half. So that makes half, only 85 at 42, the rest are 50s and 60s. If you want to change that condition to say a maximum of 85 of the 42s, then that automatically gets it to 228 units. I know below that, you know, it starts really making a big difference. That's what they talked about. And it you know, like I was saying, I mean, at that point, it drops down to like 2.6 something units per acre. And just from the landowner, I mean, that is the lowest density of anything around. And I just want to keep iterating. It's just that it's a large tract of land. That's why people are scared. I mean, at 200 and something units, it doesn't seem that big to me because I see all kind of different, but this is the last undeveloped tract of land in that area. And so after this, there is no development in that area. And so it just happens to be that it's 83 acres, but 40% of it is going to be undisturbed, which is usually everywhere I go a huge deal, that 40% of the trees are going to remain. And so I don't know, you know, so we can do that. We can do 85 42s, and that would bring it down to 228 units. But we think it's a great plan, you know how it is. Getting together after the zoning seems like we're still open-ended, and I think Lennar would be like, what's happening? You know, just, there's no surety.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
That was all.
Any other comments or? So it's my turn. Transparency is the word that I listened to you say, which is a big word. So we've talked about a lot, and our legal has stated between zoning and the development piece, we're in two different phases, so we're zoning. And I want to iterate that, you know, is your architect next to you? Yes, I'm sorry. The houses, I think of that term as it's a house, it's not a product. And yes, this has taken a long time. You said you'd been here since March. Things take a long time. You went there at 5 o'clock, didn't see anyone. But we live here. The residents live here. So you know what is different. However, you're right. This property is around the last development in that area. It's really nice to hear you say that, yes, we would consider reducing. And you've gone far beyond from what I see to work with the residents and talk, and even with the endangered species plants, to yes, if we need to do that, we'll do that as well. And as far as public safety, I wanted to just make a comment to the resident is that our police department and our first responders will respond to an incident. If there's an incident within a subdivision, whether there's an HOA or not, as the city government, that is what we do. We do not want our residents to go get a water hose and do that. We don't expect that. So I just wanted to reiterate that that is what our public safety and our first responders, that's what they do, and we make sure that that happens. This is a zoning issue, and this isn't all, it is really hard sometimes to make tough decisions, but the one thing about this mayor and council is we can ask the hard questions. We know how to deal with the comments, and it's not always easy. But we'd like to ask the hard questions. We'd like to hear from our residents because we want to get it right the first time. And with that being said, this is a zoning issue. I make a motion that we approve item number 21-473, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Madam Vice Chair. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Estes. It's been properly moved and second to approve item 21-473 with the 17 conditions that were submitted with the zoning proposal. Do we have any additional comments or questions from council members?
I did want to add one quick thing.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Madam Chair mentioned, just as a personal agreement, that I really also dislike the use of, the developers oftentimes use the word product instead of house. Because I think it then personalizes what you're doing, because you are building homes for people.
Yeah.
And I think it's unfortunate when you use that term product. I know it's standard in the industry, but I'd love to see the industry move away from that term, because it does depersonalize what you're doing, and it's easy to set up that barrier between what you're doing and what the impact it has on people around you. Anyway, I just wanted to add that one.
Yes,
Madam Mayor,
yes,
one
yes,
other
Ms. Vice
item
Chair.
as well is the information that was provided to us by the developer. It was mentioned that the district commissioner, right, this is a document that the developer provided to us. This is not an error on the city. Okay.
Does our ordinance does it say district commissioner on there as well?
It says
the city council
Yes,
on the.
ma'am. So that it's not our error. This is the
Right,
document
yes,
that we
ma'am. So that's
received.
incorrect, but the one, if we were to pass, it does say city
Yes,
council
yes,
on
ma'am.
that form. Yes, ma'am. We have any other comments from the elected body? Not hearing any. It's been properly moved in second to approve item 21-473 with the conditions, the 17 conditions that were submitted. All those in favor of approving, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
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 Raise your hand, please, so we'll make certain that we, okay, the ayes have it. 21-473 is approved. City, Ms. Acker, did you receive the correct? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're
Our
welcome.
second, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Anderson. For B? B, yes. Item 21-449.
Okay. Ryan Anderson, Zone Administrator, 6701 Church Street. Hold a public hearing and consider a request for a change in zoning from PUD, Planned Unit Development District, to PRD, Planned Residential Development for 2.96 acres on Legend Place Road and Land Lot 56, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 6. Application by Scott Johnson, care of Douglasville Health and Athletic Club. The applicant wishes to withdraw his application and remain PUD.
All right, thank you. So that item, Madam Mayor, has been withdrawn.
Okay, thank you. So we won't take any action?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, so item C.
Ryan Anderson, 6701 Church Street. Consider a request for plat approval for the purpose of combining into one lot for 1.257 plus minus acres at 9293 Georgia Highway 5 and Land Lot 160, District 2, Section 5, Parcels 76 and 127. Application by Judy Allen, care of Quick Trip Corporation.
Thank you.
The applicant is here tonight if you have any additional questions,
Right.
but staff has no new information.
Staff has none. Our developer doesn't have any other comments or, okay. Then, Madam Mayor, do we have any comments from our mayor or council members? If not, Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we, that we approve item C, which is that 21-483.
447.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
447. Yes,
Numbers
ma'am.
get confusing. So I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Estes. It's been properly moved by the Vice Chair, Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Burdanley, and second by Councilman Estes to approve item 21-447. Do we have any additional comments or questions from council members? I don't see any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-447 is unanimously approved.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
So item D.
It's a long one.
It is. Mr. Anderson, you are doing so great. Item D, number 21448.
Ryan Anderson, 6701 Church Street. Hold a public hearing and consider a request for one, a variance to reduce the required 50 feet front yard setback in section 4.08B of the UDO for a variance of 16 feet for a remaining requirement of 34 feet on the north and south side of the lot. And two, a variance to reduce the required 15 feet rear yard principal structure setback in section 4.08B of the UDO for a variance of 6.5 feet for a remaining requirement of 8.5 feet on the south side of the lot. And three, a variance to reduce the required 10 feet front landscape strip setback in section 8.02E4A of the UDO for a variance of 7 feet for a remaining requirement of 3 feet on the east side of the lot. And four, a variance to reduce the required 10 feet front landscape strip setback in section 8.02E4A of the UDO for a variance of 6 feet for a remaining requirement of 4 feet on the north side of the lot. And five, a variance to allow parking within the required 10 feet landscape strip setback in section 8.02E4A of the Unified Development Ordinance on the north side of the lot for 1.257 plus minus acres at 9293 Georgia Highway 5 and Land Lot 160, District 2, Section 5, Parcels 76 and 127. Application by Judy Alley, care of Quick Trip Corporation. This case is related to the previous case, and the applicant is here if you have any additional questions, but staff has no new information.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Anderson. No comments from the developer or mayor and council? Look at Ryan smiling. That's awesome. Okay. Madam Mayor, make a motion that we approve item number 21 dash, is it a hearing?
It's a public hearing.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, so I will open the floor now for a public hearing. If there are any individuals here that would like to speak for this item, please come forward. State your name and address for the record,
Good evening, Mayor and
please.
Council. My name is Dan Koval, and I work at 952 Old Peachtree Road, Lawrenceville, Georgia. I really don't have any new information to add to the project, but I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. So is there anyone here that would like to speak for this item? If not, is there anyone here who would like to speak against this item, oppose it? Comments from our mayor and council? Okay, if not, I would like to close this public hearing, and Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve item number 21-448.
Thank you so much, Madam Vice Chair. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Davis. It's been properly moved and second to approve item 21-448. Do we have any additional comments or questions from the elected officials? I don't see any. All those in favor of approving this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-448 is unanimously approved.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Madam Mayor? All right. Item E, Mr. Anderson.
Ryan Anderson, 6701 Church Street. Hold a public hearing and consider a request for 1, a variance to eliminate the screening requirements in section 6.059B of the UDO, and 2, a variance to eliminate the building design requirements in section 6.05F of the UDO for 160 acres in land lot 166, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 10. Application by Michael Trader, care of the Microsoft Corporation.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Trader, if you would like to come up, if you'd like to make any comments, do you have any other comments? Or
We don't have any comments. Michael Trader, 1 Microsoft Way, Redmond, Washington. I do have my architect with me in case you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to hold a public hearing. If there are any individuals any individual that's in the audience at this time that would like to speak in support of this item, please come forward. Okay, I don't see any. If there are any individuals that would like to speak in opposition of this item, please come forward. I don't think he's coming forward to speak in opposition. Any comments from our mayor and council?
No.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
I believe the representatives from Microsoft were given an assignment last week to come up with a snazzy catchphrase for the city of Douglasville being the center of the cloud industry, so.
The engineers back in the home office in Washington are working on that.
Good answer.
Good answer. Councilman Miller, Mayor Pro Tem was not going to let you get off on that one. Is that it?
Yes.
All right. If there are no comments or questions from our mayor and council, Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve item 21-457.
Thank you so much, Madam Vice Chair. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. I think we had a duel. Was it Councilman Estes or Davis? Did you get it?
Estes.
Councilman Estes, did you get it? Ms. Vicky? Okay. It's been properly moved in second to approve item 21-457. Do we have any additional comments or questions from council members? I don't see any. All those in favor of approving this item, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. 21-457 is unanimously approved. Congratulations.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
Okay. Congratulations, gentlemen. All right, item F, Mr. Anderson.
Ryan Anderson, 6701 Church Street. This item is related to the previous item. It's consider a request for approval of a development plan for Microsoft Data Center FTY01 for 160 acres at 1601 North River Road, located in land lot 166, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 10, for plans dated September 13, 2021. Application by Michael Trader, care of the Microsoft Corporation. Staff has no new information.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Any other information from our developer? No? Any questions or comments from our mayor and council? All right, if not, I make a motion, Madam Mayor, that we approve item 21-458.
Thank you so much, Madam Vice Chair. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Estes. It's been properly moved in second to approve item 21-458. Do we have any additional comments or questions as relates to this item? Any deliberation? I don't see any, and no other snazzy things by Mayor Pro Tem. So all those in favor of approving 21-458, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-458 is unanimously approved. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're
And
welcome.
item G, Mr. Anderson.
Brian Anderson, 6701 Church Street. Consider a request for approval of a development plan for Members First Credit Union for 1.13 acres at 3024 Chapel Hill Road, located in land lot 47, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 219, for plans dated October 6, 2021. Application by Cody Rogers, care of Eclipse Brand Builders, LLC. Staff doesn't have any new information, and the applicant called and said he couldn't make it tonight. Something came up.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. And the applicant was here on Thursday, and there was no questions or anything that would come up. But do we have anything at this time, our mayor and council? Okay, if not, Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve item 21-482.
Thank you so much. Madam Vice Chair, I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much. Did you get it, Ms. Acker, Mayor Pro Tem, or Mayor Pro Tem? So it's been properly moved in second to approve item 21-482. Do we have any additional comments from council members? I don't see any. All those in favor of approving this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-482 is unanimously approved.
All right, and our last item, H, Mr. Anderson.
Brian Anderson, 6701 Church Street. Consider a request for revised final plat approval, tributary at New Manchester, for the purpose of revising lot lines for .478 acres at 9107 Hanover Street and land lots 176 and 179, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 19. Application by Bruce Rippin, DRH Home Incorporated. Staff has no new information, but the applicant is here if you need to answer some questions.
Thank you, applicant. Do you have any other comments? Nothing? Okay. Anything from our mayor and council? All right, I don't see any. Madam Mayor, I'd like to make the motion that we approve item 21-487.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Madam Vice Chair, I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Estes. It's been properly moved in second by the Vice Chair, Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Burdanley, and seconded by Councilmember Estes to approve item 21-487. Do we have any additional comments as relates to this item? Any questions? I don't see any. Just shaking yes. All those in favor of approving 21-487, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-487 is unanimously approved.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have completed our planning and zoning.
You did a wonderful
tonight.
job.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. We'll move on then to item number 13, Public Improvement and Beautification Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business this evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Public Relations Committee, chaired by Councilmember Howard Estes.
We have no business this evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. Public Safety Committee, chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
At this time, no business, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Councilman Davis. Recreation, Culture, and Tourism Committee, chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight.
Thank you so much, Coach. We'll move on then to Technology Committee. That's chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business at this time with the Technology Committee.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Burdanley, you have the crown on tonight. These are all your committees. Transportation, Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Burdanley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have two items under transportation. The first item is authorize the road closures and detours around Bright Star Connector to install a roundabout at a Wood Road and Bright Star Connector intersection to support the Silverman Phase 4 development. Mr. Thompson.
Good evening, Marcus Thompson, 6701
Good
Church Street. All right, if you all recall, United Grading presented two options to us last week. It was to either proceed with the full lane closure, resulting in a duration of approximately 30 days, or a half closure for approximately 2.5 months, minimizing a full lane closure for the duration of 3 days. Are there any additional questions or concerns you guys have?
Okay.
I don't have nothing new to present.
Thank you. So this was discussed on Thursday, and they'll be able to do this right before the holidays, correct, if they're given the permission to close?
For full 30?
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Are there any questions or comments from our mayor and council? Okay, if not, Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve item 21-501.
Thank you so much, Madam
Yes,
Chair.
ma'am.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Davis. It's been properly moved in second to approve item 21-501. Do we have any other comments as relates to this item from council members? Oh, no, I don't see any. All those in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-501 is approved.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, we have one last item, and that is to authorize the road closure and detours around Timber Ridge Road for the Harmony and Douglasville Assisted Living Facility Development. Mr. Thompson?
All right. The second item is another 30-day full road closure, basically to remove existing asphalt paving and to install new.
Okay. Thank you. This was also discussed thoroughly on Thursday. Do we have any questions or comments from our mayor and council? If not, Madam Mayor, make a motion that we approve item 21-502.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Yes,
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. We had a duel. Did you get it, Ms. Acker? Councilman Davis? Okay. It's been properly moved in second to approve 21-502. Do we have any additional comments? I don't see any. All those in favor of approving this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. B is approved, 21-502.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no other items under transportation tonight.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. We'll move on to staff reports. We do have a staff report regarding benefits, consulting, and brokerage services, RFP 2021-010, and either someone from finance or from HR going to talk to us. Oh, Ms. Tia. Thank you, Mr. Marcus. Ms. Austin Bean.
My mistake. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Tia Austin Bean, 6695 Church Street. Good evening again. It's good to see you all. I wanted to say hello, Mayor Pro Tem. Last meeting I said, good evening, Madam Mayor and Council, so I just wanted to not say that again tonight. But this item before you, if you recall, back in January of this year, it was your pleasure that city staff go out for RFP this year for our benefits broker services. So here we are before you. The time has come to present to you our process and our recommendation. The attachments that you have before you should also be of guidance to paint the picture of what we did. So city staff in committee format was a part of this RFP process. The actual RFP was posted on August the 9th of this year, and our proposals were due back to us by September the 3rd. They were evaluated regarding specific criteria that included their level of service. It also included the success of previous work, also to include the proposal itself of the work product, qualifications and experience, what key personnel would be assigned if they were awarded, and then adherence to the RFP requirements. We received in all 9 proposals, so you will see those specific companies on the tables in the attachments. Each committee member is coded so that you will also see how we ranked those companies, and their reference checks were completed as well. And then we listed the total score in chronological order by the highest. And then finally, we called the references as well to add to the process to see what the feedback was. And the final recommendation based on the committee's review would be that NFP is awarded the bid based on the entire process. So I can take any questions that you may have about what we did as a committee, the process or the RFP itself, the scope of work, any of those. If you have any questions about any of those, I'm happy to take those. Assistant City Managers here as well. We worked on this project together along with other staff, and this is where we are, our recommendation before you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Austin Bean. Now, with this brokerage services, when would NFP, if awarded, receive, when would they start? Is it overlapping services, or does it the next rotation?
No, ma'am. They would finish out the rest of this calendar year, and then January 1 is when our plan year starts. So we're on a calendar year plan year versus any other type of schedule, and then that timeline would begin January 1.
Okay, very good. I'll open the floor for questions from council members. We have any? No?
This is who's doing it now, right?
Yes, sir. And to, if I might add that if they're awarded, it would be for 3 years.
When was the last time we did this?
I have to defer to city manager for that. I probably me for sure, but
Probably 12 years, at least.
Okay. That's the personnel chair. He's going to make sure he has it. I like that. Okay. Any other comments? Okay, if not, then I'll open the floor. Do we have to vote on this? No, it's just an item for report. Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Austin Bean. We appreciate you
ma'am. You're
staying until the entire meeting. Do we have any other business to come before council tonight? Okay. Updates from city staff. Our city attorney, Mr. Joel Dotson.
No business, Madam.
Thank you so much, Attorney Dotson. We appreciate your response as well during our meeting. Our staff attorney, Ms. Lynn Woodward.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Our police department deputy chief, Sue
No
Ann.
business, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Our city manager, Ms. Marcia Hampton.
Yes, ma'am. Our representative tonight from Sharehouse left a flyer for information, and I'll have Ms. Kristen Tate email this out to you all for their annual candlelight visual, which will be Thursday, October 21st at 7 p.m. in person at Heritage Baptist Church. They will also stream live on Sharehouse's Facebook page, and that's Thursday the 21st at 7 p.m. at Heritage Baptist Church, if anyone's interested. The only other item that I do have is I do appreciate, of course, Mr. Dotson's comments, and of course, I'm always reminding about development and zoning. So I think as we continue to advise the citizens, I know you all get inundated with comments and questions that are overlapping and intertwined with one another. I think it will just help. So I do appreciate your feedback and your comments. So staff will do our best to make certain that we're providing you information to keep it in line as well, to make certain that we're advising you of when this is strictly development or when this is strictly zoning, and when there's stipulations that may be conditions of both. And I think that will help you all communicate better as well with the constituents as they come to reach out to you all.
Thank you so much, City Manager. I did have a question about one of the nonprofits in the community, Golden United Methodist Church, as far as the vaccinations were concerned. I know that there was a campaign that was held at the county for September Saturdays, and so we were asked to support them, and I know Commissioner Mitchell is going to, so I don't know if you had an update.
Yes, ma'am, and after talking with Ms. Woodward, our recommendation would be that you all vote on it if it's something that you want to do. Understanding the risk is that final guidance for ARPA funds are currently not out as of yet. We would have to get with the Department of Health to find out how we can contract with them to provide those services, also come up with a scope of work. So it will take us probably at least a couple of weeks. It wouldn't be something that we could just say we can, hand the check over and turn the check over. So just understand those are the risks that we're presenting to you all as it states right now. It would, if you utilize your ARPA funds, you're making a decision that is not necessarily written in stone as per guidance from the federal government. So if they ever came back and said you couldn't do it, you'd have to pay it back.
Now, don't we have, it's been, people, don't they give those incentives all over the state? Have you? Councilmember Burdanley, I know you may be out there, you were with Talatuna, so you're welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, I was going to ask the question too, so I appreciate it. I did ask our city manager prior to our meeting to, because we did at the Mayor and Council, we did vote at some point to give, well, not about the beginning of COVID, when we did provide funding for the food bank. However, she reminded me, and she's absolutely correct, that it was a grant. That was a grant, so there were specifics. However, the question we talked about on Thursday is, I think Councilman Estes asked if there was line items, this isn't verbatim, that the funding that we've received have already been earmarked, and that answer was yes.
We, in theory, we presented to you all, and actually in executive session, we'll talk to you all about that. We have outlined where we recommend, based on interim guidance, that the money should go. But you all have not officially adopted any budgets. We have used some of the funds, as you know, for a program for proof of vaccine incentive for the employees, but that's actually something that's specifically spelled out in the interim guidance that you can provide to your employees funding for the vaccine. So that was a safe measure for us to recommend you all going forward with. But we haven't taken any permanent steps, as they say, to move forward with that recommendation on spending that toward tourism as of yet. We do believe final guidance is going to come out sometime in the spring, but the federal government has continued to push that back. So any money that you would use toward anything would take away from that project. So
are there any items on that list that we are possibly at risk?
I mean, anything really that technically that you do right now is a risk.
Right.
It is, because you don't have final guidance out. There are, you may hear certain governments doing certain things, and I caution using county governments as an example. And the reason being is because county governments have services and are tied to services that we're not. DeKalb County has their own public health, but city governments are slightly different. The list that Ms. Mann presented to you on Thursday night, they were primarily county governments or consolidated governments that specifically have that department and utilize that service. So they're not contracting with the Board of Health. That is part of their purview. That's part of a service that they already provide. So it's possibly slightly a little bit easier. There is reporting that we're currently having to do through the federal government as per auditing procedures. We've already had to submit our first report. So they are monitoring, they are watching. Is the risk large? I couldn't tell you that. I mean, if you're talking 50,000, you can pull that money out of general funds or whatever it is. It's not a large amount of money, but I would be remiss if I didn't tell you there was a risk associated with it.
Right. So there were mostly all county, but they were not all county, correct?
They were not. There were some consolidated governments. Ms. Alicia, do you remember which cities were in the list?
The cities were Statesboro, another one was River Falls.
Yeah.
Those were all consolidated?
No, Statesboro is your only Georgia city.
Right.
That was listed there.
So with that being said, Ms. Woodward, were you able to get any information on your end in regards to partnering, or are you saying the same thing Ms. Hampton is saying?
Basically saying the same thing, and Ms. Marcia is absolutely right that we need to have an agreement with any public health agency that we would partner with. And from staff perspective, I would like to request that you all think about the scope and parameter of any potential program that you would like to advocate for, and that applies to what is the cap of the program, the dollar cap. And also there is an issue of applicability. Is this supposed to apply to just Douglasville citizens, or how are we going to, if this is something that we're working on in conjunction with county health department, it would seem difficult for them to only administer to just the city's residents. And that's just something to think about.
And one thing I'll add to that point about making certain that, you know, if you're saying this is a joint effort, for instance, I estimate that Douglas County's portion of ARPA funds is about close to $30 million, far exceeds where we are. So it was based on the size of the budget that governments received ARPA funds, so their reach is slightly a little bit larger, as well as the fact that public health was, they were able to apply to a pool of money as well. So as we look to the program, there are funds out there. So I would suggest that if you're providing a benefit in that manner, it's more of a feel-good thing than it really is a financial help, because there are financial resources out there to provide this type of incentive, especially if you're talking, you know, a small amount like $50 gift cards. There's just, the pool of money is large, and governments have a very limited scope at this point as to where you can utilize those funds. So unless Douglas County has dedicated and obligated all of their resources and their funds already, I would be shocked if they have, if there's not enough funding to support citywide efforts.
So, Ms. Hampton, when you just stated that there's a large amount, a pool which it can be pulled from, is that the pool that the health department can pull from, or is that something that we can look at as?
Well, you have each government, both city and county, were automatically provided a pot of money this first 2 years. Also, public health departments were given funding, not only from the federal government, I also believe from the state as well. So then there's a second pot of money that governments, and because I do believe, Madam Mayor, WSA applied to this pool of money from the state to also provide for additional funding for COVID prevention, water sewer efforts, and it is particularly for nonprofits to be able to apply directly to the state of Georgia.
So, Madam Mayor, if I may, what I explained is that the Cobb Douglas Health Department is exactly what it is. It's
Right.
Cobb and Douglas, which includes the city.
Right.
I would like to see what funds are out there. I hope that we don't have to ever go with this COVID again. However, all of the parameters that we can wean out, and we're not talking about $100,000, but what is it that we can do? We may not can do it right now by Saturday. I think the event is on Saturday. However, I don't want to just drop it and say nothing.
Yes,
So the city did provide bags. We can, if we can still do that. I spoke with Commissioner Mitchell prior to coming here today. And we even talked about, like what number. We're, like I said, we're not looking at 50,000, but he's willing to look at, even if what wasn't just a perfect match. But I'd like to not just drop it, but see what funds are out there so we can, because if it's not COVID, it may be something else.
I agree. Now, I would argue, though, with our service delivery agreement, by me serving on the CSB, Community Services Board, and Public Health, whatever the county provides is inclusive of the city. Yeah, so we can, we can both talk to Commissioner Mitchell and say to him, whatever the county does, it's the city as well, because the county is, the city of Douglasville, parts of Austell and Villa Rica, we're all in the Community Services Board together. So when I sit on the board, it's Madam Chair and myself, and they don't make any distinction between city and county. They just say Douglas County. So
You go, Madam Mayor. So Madam Mayor sits on the board, and we have a wonderful city manager that's going to go back to their county manager and say, hey, we pay into this, what can we get
Right, so whatever-
our portion
whatever
of social
cards-
services.
Yes,
Correct.
whatever cards
Yes.
are provided should be city and county, to
That's
city and
correct.
county residents from, and representing city and county.
Yes, ma'am. And one thing I was going to mention, Madam Mayor, is when you have those conversations, I do believe that a significant portion of the county's contribution will go toward nonprofits and charitable agencies within the county. I can get that list.
Please.
I don't know if it's already been earmarked and dedicated, but I do believe that's where they were going to distribute a certain portion of their funds.
So let's find out before.
Yes.
Like soon, so we can get those. And then even on Saturday, like the bags that were presented, that were provided, I think on the 16th. But from what I understand, Golden's vaccination drive will be this Saturday, the 23rd, from 9 until 12. And the health department, Douglas Cobb Health Department, is actually administering those vaccines, and they will provide boosters.
Oh,
There will be,
great.
which is great. So maybe some of those PPE items in the bags too, but definitely if we can get gift cards, I'm all for it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. Mayor Pro Tem, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I did say, I do appreciate what you're saying, Madam Mayor. With all due respect, I think we do have to be a little bit careful. I understand how the services agreement works, but when we may not want to go out too far out there and claiming to be a part of what the county does, because in the end, they may start hitting us up for, transportation funds for the bus system and a few other things, a few other of the projects that they've imposed that we didn't really have a part of. So I just want to say that we should be cautious about claiming how much credit we want to get for things as through our services agreement with the county, that's all.
Yes, sir. But yeah, that one specifically is city and county. And when we're doing negotiations and talking to Judge McLean for Sanctuary Village or any of those initiatives, Vision 21, all of that, it's city and county because of the service delivery agreement. But I do understand what you're saying. When we can make a delineation to let everyone know
Absolutely.
exactly, what the joint services are.
Right, so see how much we've missed those joint services that we pay.
Animal control,
Yeah,
all of
a
that.
lot. See how much, yes, sir. Coach.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to weigh in, put my 2 cents worth in here. I said something the other night. I'm just, at the basis level, I'm not a big fan of this type of program where we're incentivizing people to do something that they have decided they don't want to do, healthcare-wise. I kind of see it as a slippery slope. There's all kinds of opportunities to get jabbed for free out there, people that want to, I probably shouldn't have said get jabbed. I guess that's kind of a derogatory way of referring it to. But getting the vaccine, there's all kinds of opportunities out there. Nobody's being hindered. It's not hindered by insurance. It's not hindered by cost. If you have decided that the vaccine is for you, you can get it. You can walk right down the street here to Premier, walk in, no appointment, boom, walk out, come back 3 weeks later, boom, you got your. So I'm just not a big fan of giving $50 gift cards or whatever it is. And where does that stop? Look, there's a lot of people that have already been vaccinated. So what about them?
This is just an incentive to try to get us to herd immunity.
I know we're trying to get people to 100%. I don't think we're ever going to get it, and I'm just not sure this is the way I want to do it. But that's just me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I want to just add, just for me, for people who look like me, that and I understand with the, exchanging money for health, I agree with you. However, the incentive to help encourage, I'm more on the education side of educating, but we have a very low number, and I have to give kudos to my colleague right here to my right, Councilman Davis, who was almost in the middle of the street holding up a sign. Unfortunately, whether they're vaccinated or not, we don't have the clock of death. People may still, but whatever we can do and be cautious at the same time. Find our dollars, Ms. Hampton, that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Any other comments, City Manager?
No, ma'am. I think you have a
Just
colleague.
very briefly.
Oh, I apologize, Councilman
That's
Estes.
okay.
I didn't see you.
That's quite all right. I think everybody here knows that I am a staunch proponent of vaccines always have been, and that has not changed at all. And I generally would be totally in favor in doing absolutely anything to get even 5 more people to get vaccinated. But that being said, when we do not know if we can access funding for this to do gift cards, I just think it would be irresponsible from a municipal financial perspective to do so.
Yeah.
I'm all for participating in education drives, and if there's any way we know we can absolutely access funding, let's do it. But for right now, I think we need to pull back on that idea and let the county take care of it. That's it. Thanks.
You're welcome. All right. Any other comments? Okay. Well, if not, then we'll move on to comments from citizens and delegates. If we have anyone in the audience that would like to speak, you have 5 minutes to address us. Please come to the podium and give us your name and address for the record. Mr. Jerome, you have anything? He's just there for strength. Okay. We don't have any citizens. We do have an executive session. I'd like to make a motion or open the floor for a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss property acquisition after a brief recess.
Motion to adjourn into executive session.
Thank you. I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Estes. It's been properly moved in second to adjourn into executive session to discuss property acquisition. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. We will go into an executive session after a brief recess.
Take a pillow.